fighting with my equipment. Well, that's a little better. Okay. Hey, Blink, how's it going? Hey, Rana. Hey, Steph, how's it going? Oh, she's making Indonesian pork roast. I was saying I need to get that on um, my menu, and I forgot. Oh, hey there, honey bear. So we're just talking about everybody's go-to comfort food, and I was saying like a good like homemade fried chicken and mashed potatoes and like a yummy corn, sweet corn. It's delicious. I look good in one camera, but I can't like see me because my whiteness is just too much. I need it to be darker in here. I'm like the glowing on YouTube is it's kind of funny. Um, hey, Nicholas, Andy, how's it going? Um, so, oh, are you still on stuff? Are you working? Hey, Morris, how's it going? Oh, yes, beautiful day. Actually, it turned out not to be too bad. It was like a high of like, I don't know, 37 or 39 or something, but when that sun came out, it was really nice. So we're going to be talking about food stuff, um, food prepping, what type of food prepping you might want to do because different people might need to do different types. Well, I'll be glad to distract you from the, the admin brain eating. I don't know. I can't figure out how to put it. I had a bit of an evening after dinner. It was just kind of like Tasha got out the gate somehow and sit down, and then somebody else shows up, and then sit down, and then somebody else shows up. It's, I don't know, got me all flustered. I didn't get to have my time beforehand that I normally do. Anytime, anytime. So let's see. Let's start with talking about food costs. So groceries are ridiculously expensive. Um, so talk about some ways to cut back some of the costs. And a lot of times when people want to cut back costs on the food, they'll just start cutting out the more expensive stuff. Um, it's important to try to make sure that you are still enjoying your food. Everyone should eat food that they don't like. And also that still getting the nutritional value that you need. And so that's like where a lot of people struggle with. Um, so some of the things that I have found are really helpful in cutting back waste. First thing is every garbage day I clean my fridge out. And, that serves a dual purpose. When I know what I'm wasting, like, and I can see how quickly we're going through, helps me keep a better idea of what I have and don't have. Um, but also, um, you're going to see what people aren't eating. Like if you're buying something, but you just are throwing it out, then that's the kind of stuff that you want to cut out of your shopping list. Now, some things can be kind of hard because maybe you're throwing it away because you can only get it in this certain pack size and maybe you need it smaller. So maybe some of that is is getting thrown away. But there are lots of different ways that we can try to preserve our food to make it last longer. Hey, Coop, how's it going? So, um, even with vegetables and stuff, you could freeze them for, are they going to be good for months? No. But, to freeze something for a week so that you could use it again instead of throwing it away, that's money that you don't have to spend then because if you weren't making that, you'd be making something else. So that's why, you got to pay attention to what you're wasting. Um, so, yeah, and fresh fruits and vegetables, those are going to be the quickest things to spoil for you, that and certain dairy products. Um, so those are the things that you want to try and do in smaller amounts. But then maybe it's something, oh, you cook less. Or so, for instance, I don't like to spend a lot of time cooking every day. Um, so I don't mind having a little bit more a meal like once, maybe twice a week. That takes more time. But like, got lots of other stuff to do. And I even enjoy cooking. But when you've got everything else you got to do, you want to, make sure that you're not spending time you don't have, or time that you feel could be better spent elsewhere. And I totally lost my train of thought where I was going with it. And I was talking about the food waste and stuff. Oh, so sometimes, so I like to make big batches of stuff, but like, there's only so much. For the most part, there's just three of us that are eating in the house on a regular basis. Three and a half. Because we have our son part time. So, there's only so much like chili you can eat in a week. You don't want to be eating it every meal. So what I'll do is when I make these big batches of things, like I'll put some in the fridge, but then I take the rest and I put it into the freezer. Now I got a good meal that just has to be defrosted. I don't have to put a lot of cooking into it, and then I'm not going to be having that with. So it's kind of like a dual saver. So I do that with a lot of chilies, soups, things of that nature. Um, that's always a good way to kind of help you save some time. So for the cost, so other ways to try. We did so. Grandma really like pinto beans and cornbread. It's a meal she grew up on, and so we started doing that like every other week. Um, because again, you can only eat beans so much. Beans will get you every time. Um, but that's a real cheap meal. Like to feed four of us and have leftovers for like we could have a whole nother. We could have two meals for four people with that for sure. It's like $15. So planning some of those types of meals into your food planning can help. And another big help is having a food plan. So for the longest time, I always I didn't have a plan. There was just stuff bought, and maybe I would remember to pull something out of the freezer to thaw, and maybe I won't. Like it's always an issue. And then when you don't have anything thawed, you're scrambling trying to come up with what to make, or just ordering out, which is definitely not a cheap way to go because it is not cheaper to eat out. That's for sure. Um, so having a meal plan, I'm going to show you what I use. So I have this is for a week, but I've made it into 2 weeks. And so what I do is, like the Sunday where I got the last day, at dinner time. I bring it to the dinner table and as people throw out, some meals that they want to help me um, get some ideas because I also don't like to have to like come up and decide what to eat all the time. So um, and then, like I said, one thing, kind of having a routine, at least for some of your meals, will help you save costs. Because what are, some other cheap meals that you can be making here and there? And is it something you want to have every night? No. But if you have like two cheap meals planned every week, um, that's going to save you a fair amount of money depending on how you normally eat. So, um, some other ones, pastas. Pastas are always cheap, even if you're putting some meat in it. You can make a lot of meat sauce with, a pound of beef. Like that's a lot of beef to put in a thing of meat sauce. Um, so that could give you quite a few meals. Spaghetti sauce is still fairly cheap. You can get, the big bottles for a couple of bucks, or the regular size jars, and pasta is cheap. Cheap, cheap, cheap. So I try to have like one pasta type meal a week and then one bean type meal, because then you're still getting your protein and stuff. And we really like bread, so we usually um, eat cornbread or something. Sometimes we'll make some fancy type of bread, um, and so that's good. Um, Another cheap thing that we do sometimes. We all really like breakfast. So don't always eat breakfast. Like I can't usually eat breakfast. I get sick. Hey Lily, how's it going, hon? Hi Jack. I didn't think I was going to see you tonight. So, oh yeah. So having breakfast, for dinner every once in a while. That's another way to help keep your costs down. So we're just talking about food stuff here. Ooh, cleaning off the stove. So you're in the kitchen. You're in the right spot. Um, So I was just talking about different ways to keep costs down, and I know you're pretty good with that stuff. Shopping at multiple places is another way to keep your costs down. There's certain stuff that we usually go to Aldi for most of our stuff. 'Cause it's cheaper. Even if you're buying, it tastes just as good as the brand, but we don't always necessarily get generic. It's still cheaper than it is even at Walmart or anywhere. So and they have good deals on produce. So if they have produce, they don't have as big of a selection as some of the other stores. So some things you can't get from there. But, like they always have tomatoes. We always get avocados because we're millennials and we like avocado toast. I can live on avocado toast. Actually, I have, I've been a like huge avocado fan ever since I was a little girl. And we didn't have them in the house very often. They're expensive and we had a lot of kids. And, we would need to get like 20 of them kids for free stuff avocados. But a friend of the family was a truck driver and they brought me these avocados once. I was like, I am. And no diamonds. Hey, Dragon Girl, how's it going? So what did you have for dinner tonight, Emily? Anything good? You might have even told me earlier what you're making. I don't remember. Yeah, you put grabber. That's the thing with ADHD too. And that's part of the reason why I struggle with like coming up with meals and stuff is because of my ADHD. I want to just grab like easy things. So I grab cheese a lot. You can start adding grains like barley to your soups and stews to stretch them out. Oh, that's a really good idea. Yeah, and barley's good for you. I don't know what in it is good for you, but I'm sure it's better than sugar. All right, have fun voting out there. Be safe. Um, Chicken and steamed broccoli. Oh, that's fine. We had boiled chicken and steamed veggies and mashed potatoes. So we had some steamed broccoli in there too. So that's the most part that I got on like cost saving. Unless anybody else has some stuff they want to add to that. Otherwise, I'm going to talk about the different types of prepping. Hey Jay, how's it going? Um, I'm so thirsty today. So when we talk about food prepping for emergencies, there's a lot of different types of food prepping because there are different types of emergencies. Cajun seasoning. Oh yeah, Cajun seasoning is yummy. I like Cajun seasoning in my burgers, but it does not agree with me. I just put a bunch of herbs in ours. um, yeah, so you have to think about what type of an emergency you are going to prep for. Because let's say, for instance, we live in Ohio. So our natural, chances of, oh, thank you for the presents, Lily. You're so sweet. Um, oh my God, I lost my train of thought there again. Um, I was just telling John about how I keep saying oh, and stuff. Like, I just can't get my brain to work properly. But I am here, so I just make you guys listen to babble like a weirdo. Um, so chances of us having a major earthquake here and there that I've never even felt anything. I haven't been in Japan. I've never felt that. But so chances of us getting an earthquake, are way less than 1%. I think of getting a disastrous earthquake. I'm not a scientist, so don't quote me on that, but it's pretty. You know, chances of us getting a hurricane, not so much. Flooding, it depends. We got hills and valleys, so if you're on the top of the hill, you might not have to worry about it as much. Um, getting flooded in the valley, that might happen. But having the total area flood, bad storms can happen and stay for a while, but that is not typical in this area. So generally, what we would be concerned about is losing electricity. Um, and it could be for an extended time. Some really severe thunderstorms come through that take out all the electricity for half the city. That's going to take some time to get back on them. Um, but in those instances, chances of us having gas are high. Um, Having working sanitation, chances of us still having that are also high. So and also having water still. So your concerns there are going to be well, you got to take care of whatever is in your freezer, and you're not going to have a freezer or a fridge to keep things in. So you don't need as many precautions in that type of prepping. Now, if you're like in a hurricane or area that even just gets flooding from these hurricanes and stuff, or just gets flooded anyways. Although I have to say, with that flooding that happened, in Kentucky and Tennessee, you never know. You can get flooded. Anywhere can get flooded. In those instances, you have to worry about not having any of your running water, or maybe you have water but it's not sanitary, or necessarily having sanitation options and stuff, or having gas to cook with. Um, so, you can save all the flour in the world if you don't have anywhere to cook it, then it's not going to really do you a lot of good. And then there's also food shortage prepping. Um, so with all these extreme storms and everything, yeah, you gotta have your shelf stable items, um, rice, beans, lentils, and other items. But make sure, like I was saying earlier, whatever you are prepping, for whatever reason, make sure it's stuff that you will eat. Because you need to make sure that you rotate it. Like food is something that you do because everybody like it might be more of a reason to food prep, because things are crazy. But planning for whatever hardships might come that are going to be different. Like not having access to food. Remember where it was like nobody could go grocery shopping for a while. So most of us don't have these big pantries that we can just keep all this extra food. So you want to make sure that you are going to eat it. Like if you hate lentils, don't buy lentils. Um, like I bought, so I wanted to prep some beans, but I wasn't really sure what type of beans we like. So I bought a bunch of different types of beans, kind of rotate for because like I'm gonna go buy 20 pounds of something if I'm never gonna eat it. Because and here's what's gonna happen: it's gonna be there for you know 3 to 5 years, and then eventually it will go back. Because I'm not like a machine prepper. So you want to make sure that you're going to rotate whatever food it is that you buy and get stuff that you're going to eat. So like those are all great things to have, but just be honest with yourself about it. Like yeah, if you don't like lentils, don't buy lentils. If you don't like beans, don't buy beans. But when you're doing the food prep, make sure you're thinking about how you're going to cook it as well, because maybe you want to have some propane stocked up. Maybe you got a fireplace, in which place, you can figure it out. Or maybe you got a fire pit in your yard, um, or a grill. You have enough propane to use your grill to cook, several meals, because you want to think about a time period as well. Um, so those like camp stoves are always nice to have around, and they don't use up very much of the. Pretty sure it's propane or butane now. I can't remember. But they don't usually, maybe it's both. I don't know. They don't use up a lot. Like one of those cans you can cook several meals on. And they don't take up much space. So the cooker itself doesn't take up much space, and cans for it don't take up that much space as well either. Um, so that's a big one that people forget about. You gotta have something for that. And then also water. So if you are doing things like beans and rice and pastas, those will have to have a lot of water to cook. As canned soup, you could eat right out of the can if you wanted to. So things to think about, like, and I'm not saying don't do those things, but just keep it in mind and don't only do those things. Like, make sure you also have some other stuff. But if you are only doing those things, you better make sure you increase the amount of water that you have on storage, as well. So that's important. And then don't forget that you can get canned goods. you know. Um, you got your canned spam, canned chicken, tuna, salmon, ham. Um, Most meat you can get in a can, um, and it's going to be good for a long time. And I also suggest looking up what the expiration dates of things really are. Like some things don't really. When we go to the store and we buy stuff and they have an expiration date on it, that expiration date is a lot of times a best in use by date. And that means that after that date, the quality, the taste of it is not going to be the same. It doesn't necessarily mean that it is dangerous to eat. In some cases, it can be, but those aren't exact dates anyways. Like, have you ever had milk sour before the date? You know, is it going to kill you to drink milk that started turning? No, but that's what buttermilk is. Like, so, just kind of check out some of that stuff. So they have to put dates on everything in the grocery store. But that doesn't mean that canned stuff isn't good for just about forever in a can if it has not been dented or punctured. You got dented cans, do not mess with those. That's how you get botulism. And that is the big killer. That's one that everybody has to worry about, not just the elderly and the young. So let's see. Who we got in here now? We got John and Lily. Hey, West Tench. How's it going? I am over here rambling. Oh, it's going to get darker, so I'm not glowing like a neon light in my YouTube anymore. I don't think I ever showed you guys my thing. Oh, that's great because you can't see it because there's the food thing. Um, so you're out getting freezer bags. Freezer bags are good. Freezer bags are friends. I've had I've gotten really into using a vacuum sealer because it's just a million times better. Stuff keeps for better without getting freezer burnt in it because air and moisture still permeate through plastic. Different plastics at different rates, but if you ever tried to thaw something in a Ziploc bag under the water, you know that the water gets in there, and if there's stuff inside, it gets out. That's always disappointing when you forget about. Um, yeah, I like the vacuum sealer, and I was even learning how to vacuum seal stuff in Mylar bags. But if you pack Mylar bags properly and you get uh, what's it called? Oxygen absorbers, then you don't actually need to vacuum seal it or vacuum seal it. It'll oxygen absorber absorber absorber. Getting tired of rambling. I don't know. I think. Hey, Bridget, how's it going? Um, so we talked about the different types of prepping, some things to keep in mind. Um, some of the different ways to store food that we're prepping. Um, so you have, and this is why one of those reasons again why you want to think about what kind of an emergency you're preparing for. If you're preparing for a complete like shutdown of all systems, electric, sanitation, water, gas. Some of those, maybe none of those, maybe it's just food, shortage, because that's Another thing that we have to pay attention to with all these crazy storms and just the extreme weather patterns that are going on are really affecting our food supply. So there's a lot of stuff that is going to be that are high demand and are not going to have enough product to meet the normal high demand for those products. So I try to pay attention to stuff like that. So for instance, like olive oil and cocoa, so chocolate stuff, prices for that are going to be going up. Um, so when I hear things like that, I try to stock up a bit more on them to try and help, cover any. So I'm not spending the extra money when the prices do go up, but then also, that if they are unavailable, that I do have something. Um, so, some things they might not, apply to you or whatnot. But like rice is a big one that's going to be hitting. That's a big thing. But like we eat rice pretty regularly. We eat a lot of stir fry. And you usually have rice with your stir fry. So the emergency plan is to come here. We're going to be eating bread. So far, I got 50 pounds of flour, 50 pounds of sugar, one bag of powdered milk, and 60 eggs. Um, nice, nice. And we'll have olive oil too, because olive oil is one of those ones that's going to be going up. So I try to make sure I was stocked up on that for the price increase. But I think it's too expensive. Just good old vegetable oil is normally pretty cheap. Um, so for prepping, that would be, you know, more um, doable for me is to do vegetable oil because, like, I'm not going to prep that much olive oil. That's just too much money. Um, I wish there was a way to prep avocados and bananas. Well, I mean, freezer, but if you don't have a freezer, like, that's always, I'm like, if we had like a total collapse of whatever, whether it be all the food systems or just collapse of society in general, I think I would be most sad about not having my tropical like fruits and vegetables that I've grown quite used to. About having bananas and avocados. Pineapple is good, but I don't eat it very much because it's not good. But I would miss still being able to have it every once in a while. So I always talk about I'd love to have like a greenhouse where I can have like avocado tree, avocado tree. Hey, Steve, how you doing? We're talking about food prep and stuff tonight. Uh, so where did I leave off with that? So we are talking about it's going to go into storage, different ways to store food for your product. So, freezer for food shortages and stuff, that is absolutely the way to go. And um, but if you're looking at more longer term storage and stuff, can't do the freezer. Um, if you're looking at like a total collapse of things or loss of all utilities, that was the word I couldn't think of that earlier. Um, so again, you need to think about are you planning on floods or stuff like that because if you have um, you don't have your food properly sealed, it's not going to do any good if it gets all flooded out, right? So, for flood situations, keeping buckets are not a bad idea because they can really cool. Definitely are going to want the more heavy duty ones. You you know, um, is that cheap? No, not at all. But again, like hurricanes, you're going to lose all your utilities and stuff. So you might be better off going with some of those like buckets of MREs, stuff like that. Um, we definitely shop around because there are some big price variances when it comes to art. I just said the word like a minute ago, and now I can't think of it. Honestly, the ready to eat meals. REM, but that doesn't sound right. That's a band. Um, you're listening, John. Tell me. What is it? MRE. Thank you. My brain did a little flip on there, and it was about ready to break me. I was like, "That's not right." So the MREs, those are good. They already come in a bucket, so you might just want to like seal it with like some silicone or something to make sure that it is extra sealed. And then just make sure you have enough of those to cover however many people. Um, they say in general you want to shoot for 30 days um, worth of food. But, I say start off with like, especially for, those of us who are not swimming around in pools full of money. Those, it's not cheap. It's not cheap. So try and like every time I go grocery shopping, I try to get one more item a little bit more stocked up on, so that way it's not like a ton of money coming out of the bank all at once to cover this, and then um, so really, the buckets are a good way for the hurricanes and stuff. And I say the buckets more over like the storage square containers just because the buckets are easier to move around and um, they're easier to seal, and to keep watertight. And then you got something to open. So don't forget about planning your sanitation as well. So there's lots of different stuff. And people always forget about pets. If you are stocking up for you and you don't got anything for your dog, what are you going to feed your dog? Well, now you're going to give them your food because you don't have anything else, right? Chances are you're not going to let your dog stuff. If you are going to let your dog start, tell me where you live. I'll make sure that your dog. I stopped myself from being appropriate there. You should be proud or not proud. I'm not sure. Um, so canning is an excellent way to store. Um, Now, if you're buying cans, like aluminum cans from the store, those are great because you can stack them on top of each other. Um, and you can fit a lot of cans into a place. Um, if you are doing your own canning, it can become a little bit harder to have as much because of storage, because you can't stack those on top of each other. So one thing I'll say about that too is if you're doing your own canning, um, and you've got pint jars, um, you might want to think about upping it up to like quarts or half gallons or whatnot. I don't remember exactly all the sizes they have. Um, but because again, like you can't stack them on top of each other. So it's like you're going to have like 50 shelves that are like this big, or you can fit a lot. And plus, like if you have a family, what's in that small jar is not going to be enough to cover you. So you're not going to want to have to open 4 jars of something for one meal. Um, so just keep that in mind if you're doing canning stuff that you need to have somewhere to keep it where it's going to be, cool, dry. and can't stack them on top of each other. So we need to have a lot more shelves that aren't half steep. Um, and or you might, have them different sizes to certain things. You might do the really big jars, other things, in different size jars, depending on how many of you there are and what you are canning. Um, so that's always good. Um, I don't recommend long-term storage for things in their regular packaging. Um, and so what I mean by that, like I said before, whatever you're buying for your garden, unless you're getting MREs, should be part of your normal used food. Because what is the point in buying something and having it sit on your shelf? Maybe you never use it and you just end up throwing it away in 5 years, right? You want to make sure that you are keeping those things in rotation. So like earlier, I talked about how I got, 50 pounds of flour and 50 pounds of sugar. I didn't store in the, big 20, I didn't get like 20 pounds or something like that. I didn't actually do that much, but um, they do sell like the big buckets, but that's not, um, it's not sustainable long term to keep things stored like that. So what I did was I got all that flour and that sugar and stuff, and I got Mylar bags, and I broke it up into the gallon Mylar bags. And so I still have to see. Um, I had something come up that night. I didn't finish it, and I've been putting it off. But anyways, oh, not yawning, you're yawning. Oh, so I got my Mylar bag, and then yeah, 5 gallon. Thank you. And I put as many as I could fit of the Mylar bag into the 5 gallon buckets. Now they have food quality, food safe, airtight, watertight buckets that you can buy. And it is about 70 bucks is the starting, the lowest that I've seen for those. Really. Um, that is really expensive. Now, to me, if you're not putting in the bucket, then it's okay. Then it's not that super easy safe bucket because there's no food touching the bucket, so I don't have to worry about plastic leaking into food, right? In a Mylar bag. Um, so to me, like I just bought a bunch of like $4 used for whatever buckets. Um, and those ones have had nice lids. I found them at Sam's Club. Actually. They had nice lids that come off easy because the airtight, air water tight ones too. Like there's two types. It's like I said, it's 70 bucks for three, and that's if it has a twist, right? The other type, where you actually have to have a pail opener to get it on and off, which is hard. You have arthritis in your hands. You can have a whole arthritis in your hands. So I thought I would save us some trouble not dealing with that. Um, but so for us, and like I'm not particularly worried about flooding. Um, it would have to be like Noah type flooding for us to get flooded over here. So I don't necessarily need it to be quite so watertight. I'm also probably not going to have it in my basement. If you have a basement that floods, that might not be something that you want to go with. But for me, I was like, that's okay because they're in the Milo bags and we would be rotating. So I want to be able to get in and out of it. easily. Um, so that's good. Now, Mylar bags, don't skimp on the Mylar bags. need to be a certain thickness. Um, you want them to be at least 0.5 or 5. No, I don't remember exactly, but it's 5. Like if it's 0.5 or just 5, however they say it, you want it to be at least that thickness. And that's because any thinner than that is not going to keep the air out or the sunlight out. Um, and that's another thing that you have to think of if it's going to be around sunlight. Um, then don't get mylar bags with the clear on them. Some of them have clear fronts. You may think, oh, well, then I see what's on it. You should be labeling your stuff anyways. You want to put date on it so you can make sure you're rotating. That stuff does go bad, and we don't want to be wasting our money when food is so expensive. All right, so I went through a lot of stuff, gave out a lot of random information. Anybody have any questions or anything they want to talk about or add or sing a little song for me? Everybody to bed with my food talk. Canning tips? Oh, what are you thinking about canning? Because what you're canning can make a big difference. I will say, number one tip: be wary of information from random people, um, because there's a lot of, well, I've been doing this my family's been doing this forever, but it doesn't mean that it's not a risk. So I always say what USDA, I want to say. They used to, I haven't been on it anymore. They had all the like times. So they got a list of different things that you can. And then there's pressure canning and hot water canning. Um, Depending on which one you're doing there, there's also different things. So there's some things that you can pressure can that wouldn't necessarily be safe just with hot water. My canning, I do hot water, the hot water bath. I did get a pressure cooker. I was too scared to ever even try it because I could not really understand the instructions. I could not find a video that matched what my machine said and to what they were saying or like anything. So I ended up giving it to one of my friends who was more than I was. I was so paranoid that the thing was gonna explode because it's like pressure canning is something you really gotta know what you're doing. Like watch a lot of videos if you're doing pressure canning for sure. To really learn about it, look up what models are used more so that you know that you can find answers to your questions and don't just buy the cheap one that is written in Chinglish. So veggies are rough. Most veggies they say you cannot can because they just are not acidic enough. I think that we can add in the acidity stuff. And they lose their they break down as well too. So like when you are doing a hot water bath for canning, um, so pan is hot, food needs to be hot as well. If food is not hot when you put it in the can, then you're not going to get a proper seal. Yeah, and ask me how. Oh my God, I made like 20 jars of salsa, and not a single one of them did the seal stick on. And I was so mad, so mad because at that point, like you have to, after you're done canning, you let them sit for 24 hours. So, those tomatoes had been sitting out at room temperature for, you know, over 24 hours. Yeah. So I had to throw them all away. There's a lot of tomatoes from my garden too. All tomatoes from my garden. Um, that was I was so devastated. I couldn't. I don't think I could can the rest of the season. I think I did end up giving like one last batch of pickles. I already had like about 20 jars of pickles, so it didn't really matter. But I didn't can any of the other stuff or do anything with the tomatoes because I was so upset. Um, so yeah, veggies. Sadly, I'm not sure what it is about the aluminum cans that allows them to can veggies. Um, you can do green beans, I know. Um, I'm not sure if you have to pickle them or not. I did actually get the substitute pickled green beans. I normally grow green beans, and I wanted to try pickled green beans. I love pickles. Um, the so I mean cucumbers, you can pickle them, and maybe that's what it is. Maybe you can only do veggies if you pickle them. Something about the aluminum can and the way that they can them in the aluminum can makes them okay, but it's not the same with the hot water bath. And I do not exactly what that is. Because what did I want? Like carrots. I think I was like, I want cans of carrots. And I was like, no candy carrots. And I was like, what? That's not cool. Um, but yeah, so we have to look that up again. But I'm pretty sure it was the USDA that had it. If it's not on the USDA website, it might have been Department of Agriculture. And want to look it up now because I want to know. Department of Agriculture canning, canning guidelines. Yeah, it is on the Department of Agriculture. They actually have a lot of good resources on there. So definitely make sure you remember that and then check it out. Fall, that make the jars. They have some different information on their website. I don't know that they have everything on there because they have a lot of books, which are excellent books, by the way. If you come across, I know you do a lot of bookstore shopping and stuff. So if you come across any ball canning books, those are good ones to grab. Um, yeah. So what? Any other questions about canning? Is it just the veggies you're thinking about doing? I know you can pickle just about anything. So if you're pickling them, you for sure you can. I just don't know that you can if you're not pickling them. Well, I think I'm gonna call it a wrap. Just one. Thanks for stopping by. And let's see, really, she's doing something, or she doesn't have her hands full. All right, I'm gonna text you, Lily. Bye. YouTube land.